Are you ready to spice up your holiday gift wrapping? Well, today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different styles of reusable gift bags. Hi, my name's Jenna, and today on 3 Ways To, we are making 3 different styles of gift bags. We're making a tie style, a drawstring style, and a tote style gift bag. And for all of these bags, I've written a pattern, and there is a small, medium, and large version, and they all start with the same size pieces. And the grease products we're using today are the 45mm straight cutter, the 11" by 18" rectangle ruler, the 36" by 24" cutting mat, our little rebel, and ruby red finesse thread. Now let's get into making our first bag, the drawstring bag. To start off our small drawstring bag, I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric that are 8½ inches by 11½ inches, and I'm going to start by pressing them so that I can hem them. We're going to start by hemming 1 piece of our fabric, and I want to do it on the shorter side. So I'm going to fold the top piece of fabric in by about 1/4 inch and press that. Then I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to fold it over again 1/4 inch. I'm going to press that nicely, and then I can repeat that to the other half of the bag. So I'm going to fold it in by 1/4 inch, press it, and then fold it again 1/4 inch. Now we're going to take these pieces over to our little rebel, and we're going to sew them 1/8 inch up from the edge of that piece that we folded down. And remember, whatever thread color you use, you want it to match your fabric just because you'll be able to see it on the outside of your bag. And so I'm using a ruby red because it works with Christmas perfectly. Our bags are now hemmed, and now we're going to do something called a French seam. And what a French seam does is it hides your raw edge, which makes your bag look nicer and will make it last longer. So instead of putting fabrics right sides together like we would normally do, we're going to put our fabric together wrong sides together. I like to make sure the top 2 hem pieces are lined up first, and then I can go ahead and pin the rest. And now we're going to sew from the top of our bag all the way around to the other side, and we want to make sure to backstitch on both sides, and we're going to use 1/8 inch seam allowance. And now it's time for the fun part. We are going to turn this guy wrong side out, and we're going to poke out our corners oh so nicely, and then we can press everything down nice and neat. And sometimes to help push those seams out, I'll push my little poking device along those seams and then press them, or even do it while I press. And sometimes that just helps get everything nice and even. Then once everything's pressed, we're going to repeat that same process except using 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to start here, backstitch, go all the way around to the other side, and then backstitch when I'm done. And now you can see that all of our raw edges are hidden perfectly in these seams. And then I can go ahead and flip this guy right side out, poke out all of my corners, and I have a nice little pouch. How cute is that? To make this bag a drawstring bag, we're going to need 2 ribbons, and you can choose whatever width you want. When you go to cut your ribbon, you want to fold it in half, place it on top of your bag, and you just want to make sure that the side where the 2 ribbon ends are loose, that there is about 3½ to 4 extra inches of ribbon so that we can tie it off at the end. And you're going to need 2 pieces of that ribbon. We're going to make a channel for the ribbon to go through, so I'm going to fold my bag in. Depending on the size of bag you're doing, if you're doing a small bag, you may want to have more room to put stuff in, so you'll fold it back a little bit less. But I have found that I like to do on the small bag around 2½ inches. Yeah, that's almost perfect. Okay, now that this is folded in half, 2½ inches, I need to know how big to make my channel for my ribbon. This ribbon is around 1/4 inch thick, and so I'm gonna add 1/4 inch to whatever the thickness of my ribbon is, and that's gonna be how big the channel is. So if this ribbon is 1/4 inch, add 1/4 inch, and we get 1/2 inch. So I need to sew a 1/2 inch channel. On one side, I'm gonna sew until I get 1/2 inch in from this edge. And then on the other side, I'm gonna repeat that. I'm gonna start 1/2 inch in, sew until I get about 1/2 inch away from that seam. And wherever I start and end, I want to make sure to backstitch a few times, because when I go to pull that drawstring, this seam is going to be pulled the most when using these bags, and so we just want to backstitch to make them really strong. Now you can see that we have a nice little channel and I backstitched on both ends. And if we put this guy up, our little channel for our drawstring is hidden inside of our bag. And now there should be an opening on this side and on this side that we can thread our ribbon through. And after doing a lot of these bags, I found that to make it easier to thread the ribbon through, I like to put tape on the ends, and that just stiffens them up a little bit, but also makes them a little bit stronger so that we can thread them through without the ribbon ripping. And then to thread the ribbon, I like to use a safety pin. I'm going to stack 2 of the ribbon's ends right on top of each other, and I'm going to safety pin these together. And now we have our 2 pieces together on our safety pin, and I'm going to start threading them through this hole, and I want to go just to the other side first. And to thread it, I find that just scooting the fabric onto the paper clip, holding the paper clip tight, and then pulling that fabric is going to be the easiest way to do it. So you scoot a bunch of fabric, bunch it up onto that paper clip, hold the end of the paper clip tight, pull the rest of that bag. And now I'm going to unclip these 2. I'm going to take one of the ribbons on this shorter side now. I'm going to rehook it onto my paper clip, and I'm going to thread it through the other side of the bag. So this one string is going to stay on this side, and I'm going to thread the other ribbon through the other side. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a C shape in one way and then a C shape the other way with both ribbons. Now I'm going to pull that ribbon through until both of these ends are the same length. And now we're going to take our longer ribbon on the side that has 3 ribbons out now and thread it the other way. And before you thread this ribbon next, I like to take these 2 ends and just tie them together so that one doesn't accidentally get shoved through the opening. So those 2 ends are tied together, and now I can take this longer ribbon and thread it the opposite direction. Perfect. I'll make sure these 2 are the same length, and I can tie them together and take out that paper clip. Now you just fill your bag with your favorite True Cut product that you're gonna give to your quilting bestie. You pull your drawstring shut, and it's a cute little gift bag. And you guys, I'm looking at the camera right now, and it took literally 15 minutes to make. You can make a whole bunch of these for all of your friends. And if you're wondering, this is what the medium drawstring style looks like, and this is what the large drawstring style looks like. So we have small, medium, large with all different style ribbons, and they're just a good time. Now we're moving on to our next bag, and if you thought the drawstring bag was easy, oh my gosh, the tie gift bag is even easier. To make a large tie bag, I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric that are 16.5 by 18 inches, and I'm going to start by hemming the first 2, and now I'm putting them right sides together to do my 1/8 of an inch seam all the way around, and then we're going to stop and do something a little bit different. So we've done our first 1/8 of an inch seam allowance part for our French seam. Now we're going to add the ribbon part to our bag, and I like to fold my ribbon in half, and when I go to cut it, I just like to make sure that there's at least 3 to 4 extra inches on both sides of that bag so that when I go to tie it, there's just extra room for error. And what I'm going to do first is put the 2 raw edges of the ribbon together, and I'm just going to base them using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance so that the 2 ends stay together. Then this part is a little bit weird. Because we are going to hide our raw edges later, I want to measure down around 3 inches, and then right under that 3-inch mark, I'll put my ribbon about an 1/8 of an inch in, maybe a 1/4 of an inch in, but you want it a little less than a 1/4 of an inch in, off the side where the ribbon is poking out. Then I'll sew the end of the ribbon to the bag where most of the ribbon is facing out on my sewing machine. You want to make sure that all of the loose part of your ribbon is facing out away from the bag. This ribbon is very loosely sewn on, so be careful because we only had an 1/8 of an inch and a scant 1/4 inch to work with right there. So just don't pull too hard on it just yet. So now we're going to go ahead and turn this all right side out and repeat that same process that we did with the drawstring bag of finishing off our French seam. If you need a reminder, you're going to poke out your corners, press it, and sew all the way around using your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Before you sew the bag with your 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, you want to just make sure that the ribbon is tucked away from the edge so that you don't accidentally sew it into one of your seams. We've completed our French seam, and now we can turn our bag right side out. And guess what? We're basically done. I'm just gonna take this ribbon and cut it in half. That is a very poor job. I'll fix that later. And now I can fill my bag with even more things like some finesse thread for my quilting bestie. And then once it's all nice and full, I just tie this ribbon around in a nice little bow. And now we have our cute little tie bag. And if you're curious, this is the large tie bag, the medium tie bag, and the small tie bag. And that one took even faster. That one was 10 minutes rather than 15 minutes. And now we're moving to our last bag, which is a tote style gift bag. We're now doing the tote style gift bag, and I'm starting with 2 pieces of fabric that are 13 inches by 15 1/4. I'm starting with pressing my hem by folding it over twice, just like I did in that first drawstring bag, but I'm not going to sew it down just yet because we need to add our handles. And to make the handles of your tote bag, you're gonna need 2 pieces of ribbon, whatever width you would like. The larger the tote, probably the larger width that you'll want. For this bag, I'm using ribbon that is around 3/4 of an inch in width. And we're gonna start by measuring out the handle. And the handle for each bag is gonna be a little different. And so I'm just gonna look to see how big I think the handle should be. And that seems about right. So I'm gonna cut right there. I'm gonna measure it out. And I'm just gonna make sure that both handles are gonna be the same length. With the raw edges of the handles, I'm gonna put them inside that hem that we folded over. And I wanna make sure that they're both the same distance from the edge. I'll do 3 1/2. And for this guy, I like clips. I'll clip it. I'll measure 3 1/2 on the other side, and I will clip it. Now I'm gonna repeat that same process with the other side. So I'm gonna measure 3 1/2 inches in and clip it. Christmas is my favorite time of the year by far. And now I just wanna, after learning how to make these bags, I just wanna make 1,000,000 of them, so I may. Now we can go ahead and sew that hemline down, just like we did with the drawstring bag, where we're going 1/8 of an inch up from that bottom fold. The last little bit of sewing up top that we're gonna do is going to secure the handles. So I'm gonna fold the handles up, and I just wanna sew 1/8 of an inch from the top of the bag over that handle on both sides, just a couple times going back and forth, just to really hold that down nicely, so then when you're pulling on the handle, it's not gonna come apart. The handle part of our bag is done. Now we just have to put them together using the same method that we've been using for the previous bags, which is the French seam method. So we're gonna lay them on top of each other, wrong sides together, sew 1/8 of an inch around, flip the bag, and then sew it using our 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Then I'm gonna show you how to square off the corners on the bottom. After you've done your French seam, you can either leave your bag like this, or if you want the bottom to be flat, you can square off the sides, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first, make sure to like and subscribe because we are coming out with new videos every Wednesday and Friday, plus we've got a lot of free patterns, just like in the video today. If you want the measurements and written directions for these 3 different types of bags, make sure to click the link below, and the pattern is completely free. And just because I like it, I'm gonna square this guy up. And to square up the bottom, I'm going to kind of open the bag and I'm gonna match my seams together. And when I match my seams up, it's gonna create a triangle shape down here. I'll come to a point. A lot of this is by feel. So I wanna make sure that this seam is on top of the bottom seam. So I can put my thumb right on top to make sure they're lined up. Now we're gonna figure out what we want the width of our bag to be. You can choose whatever you want, but I want the width of my bag to be about 4 inches. Half of 4 is 2. And so I wanna make sure to measure 4 inches across, and my halfway mark is gonna be lined up with my seam line. It's gonna be about right there. So I can see 4 inches across, and my seam line is right in the middle. I am gonna mark that line and add a couple pins in it. Then I'm gonna repeat that same process with the other corner. And our final step is to sew directly on that line that we drew on both sides, making sure to backstitch at the beginning and end. If you wanted to, you could cut these pieces off, but my seams are already tucked nice and neatly inside, so I'm not going to. And plus, this is gonna go on the inside of the bag. So I can flip my bag right side out. And now it is perfectly flat on the bottom. And for the smaller bag, it's easier for it to stand up without stabilizer, but for a medium and large bag, if you want it to be a little stiffer, you're gonna wanna put stabilizer in it. And when you stuff it with presents, it will stand up a little bit better. So I think we should stuff this guy with the True Sharp 2 electric sharpener so that you could gift this to your quilting bestie. And how cute is this tote style bag? This is the medium one and this is the small one. In the pattern, there is the measurements for the large one. I just didn't make the large one right now. I don't know about y'all, but that time flew by so fast. In about 45 minutes, we made these 3 bags, and the more you make them, the faster you get at them. So why not make a whole bunch of them to put under your Christmas tree this holiday season? Thanks for hanging out with me today. Remember that the free pattern is in the link below. And in the comments, let me know what gifts you're wanting. I hope you have a great holidays, and I'll see you next time on 3 Ways To.